Hi, it's X, and welcome in today's dungeon walkthrough. And before we begin to this video, I just want to tell you what's the goal of the video. This video is aimed at people discovering Mythic Plus for the first time, or that aren't still very sure of what it's all about, and it will explain the basics of what to do in the dungeons. These will take place in low level keys between +2 and +3 over all the dungeons available for the seasons 1 of Dragonflight. Later on, I'll release videos on higher keys going through that same schedule, +2 to +3 for beginners, 4 to 9 for, I won't say intermediate. Well, I go a bit more in details, and +10 to 14 for, I want to say, confirmed. Well, it will be more about how to play around with this season special affix, and lastly, +15 and over. Well, you should be near the end of your journey to become a Keystone Master and get your mount. All of these videos will take place on my Holy Priest, which here is the talent tree that I personally use. And quick disclaimer, this isn't forcefully the best talent tree for Mythic Plus. This is just the one I like to use. Other choices can be better, or you might just feel like there's something else that you like. You can choose whatever you want. There's nothing better than the thing that you are comfortable with. To end this introduction, I'll tell you that I plan making those Road to Keystone Master videos on as much specs as I can during season 1. And yeah, let's get going. First off, after a little stroll on the boat, you'll be met with the Squatch guards that cast Quelling Strike, a throttle and a tank. Take care to where it's aimed and move out if you're in the area. They come with mana worms that don't do much more than exploding on death, so don't be next to them when their HP is down, and you'll be fine. As well as mana sabers that leap at a random player of the group, leaving mana fang debuff on the targets. This is dispellable and you want it to be dispelled as it deals huge damage and stacks up quite fast. You also have to take special care of the Duskwatcher sentries as they will try to use sound alarm upon reaching one of the many lay pillars. You want to focus them and use as many CCs as you can on them, as if they sound the alarm, additional monsters will be spawned and you'll get overwhelmed and die. Guardian constructs are also very dangerous as they cast suppress that must be kicked. If not, it will deal important damage to a member of the party and silence them. They also cast charging station that buff other monsters around them. I'd advise focusing them once the sentries are dead. Lastly, there's Bound Energy that use Charge Blast. It creates a line between itself and a player of the group that will more than likely be the death of you as it deals really high damage as well as knocking you back. It can be kicked, but you can stun the monster to cancel the cast. After deactivating the lay pillars, you'll find Patrol Guardian Gyardo, the first boss of the dungeon. Before starting the fight, if you have an alchemist or a rogue in your group, the player can poison the Flask of Solemn Light before the fight starts. That will kill the boss upon reaching 25% health. I would greatly advise having either a rogue or an alchemist all the time in the group, as it saves such a great amount of time. On the other side, let's get into the fight. First off, if you went and deactivated all the lay pillars, he can't use a Signal Beacon that would spawn ads on one of the pillars. Other than that, he casts Resonance Slash that creates 2 cones, one in front and one behind him, that deals damage if you stand in either one of them at the end of the cast. Right after, you should use Street Sweeper, that creates a line on the ground that will also deal damage if you stand in at the end of the cast. Lastly, he uses Arcane Lockdown, that is a dog stacked 3 times, that slows and deals damage. You can remove a stack by jumping. Being a magic effect as a priest, you can use Mass Dispel to get rid of it for your entire group in one go. Upon reaching 25% health, he'll try to drink his Flask of Solemn Light, that would enrage him and make him way stronger, but if it's poisoned, it will simply kill him instantly. After a bit of running, you'll get into the courtyard where you'll find the next boss, Algeth'ar Flamewrath, that you don't want to put instantly, as she is with her lieutenants that you have to kill separately from her to be able to kill them, as they buff each other when they are close. To do that, you'll have to kill monsters in the area, so let's go over them. First, there are Watchful Inquisitors that cast Ice Storm, that deal damage around them, and this can get quite heavy as you'll often be stacked because there's not a huge margin for movements, so be ready to heal. They come with a flock of imps that cast Drifting Embers that can get out of range quite fast as it can be interrupted, so use the zone CC as much as you can to cancel the cast. Around the area, you also find Legend Hounds that will use Fellblaze Leap, the random player, charging them, dealing damage, and leaving a pool that also deals damage on the floor. The main monster that you're looking for are the Fellbound Enforcers. They don't do much but cast Fell Detonation, they'll deal damage and leave a dot on every member of the group. You can prevent that from happening by being out of the line of sight of the monster, so stand next to a wall and hide behind when the cast is about to go off. Upon killing a Fellbound Enforcer, one of the lieutenants will come alone to check on the dead body, leaving it to report the kill. First will come Algeth'ar, Scream of Pain, that deal damage to the entire group and silence anyone still casting at the end of the cast. So stop casting anything when it goes off or you'll find behind in healing. She uses Whirling Blades that creates a circle around there, dealing damage to anyone still in at the end of the cast. Once she's dead, find another Fellbound Enforcer, kill it, and Balgard the Watchful will make his way to you. It casts Disintegration Beam that targets a random player, dealing damage and leaving a stacking debuff that reduces healing. You want to have that interrupted as fast as you can, and dispel the debuff before healing. His other spells is Impending Doom, that leave a magic debuff on 2 players that deal damage over time, as well as in a zone upon expiration or dispel. You want to move out of your group and dispel one at a time the targets in order not to create too much damage in one go. The last lieutenant, Lasher will also come to you upon the death of a Fellbound Enforcer. He has a frontal in the name of Shockwave that also stuns if you're in the area. Always just don't face him and you're fine. His other spell is Crushing Leap that makes him leap to another player, dealing damage and knocking them back. Once he's dead, you're free to go and fight Talixia Flamebreath that has been patiently waiting for her lieutenants to die. She periodically uses Burning Intensity that leaves a dot on the entire group, as well as buffing your fire damage by 10%, meaning that if you take too long to kill her, she'll end up just one-shotting the entire group. She also uses Withering Soul that can and must absolutely be interrupted, as it's a debuff to the entire group that reduces health and movement speed by 10%. This is stacking, so if this thing goes off one too many times, you're in for a wipe. Although this is a magic effect, so you can get rid of it with a Mazy spell if it happens to go through. Lastly, she uses Infernal Eruption that creates surge under all players' feet, dealing damage and spawning imps where the swords were. Those imps must be killed as soon as possible, as they will start casting firebolts, dealing damage to the group. Upon death, the imps will also leave a patch of fire that deal damage if you walk inside. Once she's defeated, you'll be infiltrated in a Nightborn party, where you have to find an imposter. You have 5 clues given by NPCs in the room. Your goal is to find the other NPC corresponding to the description given. I honestly never managed to find anyone, I just go for the clues and hope my group can manage to get the imposter because I'm just bad at it. Anyway, once the imposter is found, you'll be led on a balcony where you have to fight Garant the Vile, a sort of mini-boss. He casts Shadowbolt Volley that deals damage to the entire group. This is quite basic. Vampiric Claws that is a tank busters that also is Garant, so take care when it's casted, as if it's not managed well, it will end up pretty bad. Lastly, he also spawns Hypnosis Bats that must be interrupted or they will mind control a player of the group, rendering it hostile to the party. Once he's dead, don't forget to pick up the key and move on to the last boss, Algeth'ar Melandrus. Melandrus will first use Blade Surge, that creates a swirl under the farthest player from him. He will dash to the swirl, dealing damage and leaving a mirror image of himself, casting his 2 other abilities along Melandrus. Next, he will cast Piercing Gale, that creates a line that goes in front of behind of himself and his mirror image, that deal damage and knockback at the end of the cast. Take special care to where the boss and the mirror images are, as it can get really hard to place yourself when the images start to stack up. Lastly, he casts Slicing Maelstrom, that deals damage to the entire group. It deals increased damage when you're near Melandrus or one of his images. The cast starts off dealing low damage, but it ramps up every cast, reaching its maximum damage on the third cast, so don't take that ability for granted. This fight requires a lot of placement and positional awareness. Don't let yourself overwhelmed and you'll beat the boss and get your loot. It was Vex, see you next time.